Okay, so hi everyone. Sorry I did miss a week because I had other stuff happening, but I'm back now and I've got a two-part series. And it is on the timing of God. So God's timing. And you know what? God's timing is everything. God could do something for us today and it would have no effect, but he could do it for us again next week and it could have a big effect. And often God will wait for the right time. So we need to go through all of these things until we get to the place where he can bring the answer to the prayer. So that's really worth remembering. If God is sort of saying not yet, just means that you're not ready. You might think you are, you might feel like you are, but you're actually not. And God's taking you through other things in the meantime so that you will be ready when the time comes. So I'm going to go to Ecclesiastes chapter 3, which says, there is a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens. A time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to tear down and a time to build, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to scatter stones and a time to gather them, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to search and a time to give up, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear and a time to mend, a time to be silent and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, and a time for war and a time for peace. And I just really sort of stand out to that one. A time to laugh and a time to dance, because we do have good times and bad times, and there are times to laugh and times to dance, but there are also times to cry and mourn and weep as well. A time to search and a time to give up, and a time to keep and a time to throw away. Now, honestly, sometimes we just need to abandon something. Like sometimes God just closes the door. Sometimes we go off on our own tangent and we're on the wrong path. And God's like, So he closes the door and that's the time to stop. And of course, a time to keep and a time to throw away. Well, all I'm going to say there is, when my house needs decluttering, I don't want to throw anything away. But that's life. We're all a bit like that. And of course, a time to be silent and a time to speak. It's so important to watch what we say and when we say it. And, there is a time for everything. And, that's God. There's a time for everything that we need to do. And God's timing is everything. Isaiah 43:19-20 says, for I am about to do something new. See, I have already begun. Do you not see it? I will make a pathway through the wilderness. I will create rivers in the dry wasteland. The wild animals in the field will thank me, the jackals and owls too, for giving them water in the desert. Yes, I will make rivers in the dry wasteland so my chosen people can be refreshed. And, God is God, and he does provide us with times of refreshing as well as sort of downtime when we're not so happy as well. But, in all the downtime, we're growing. Like nothing is wasted with God. Absolutely nothing is wasted with God. If we're in a time of stress or depression, or we feel like we're not moving anywhere and it's really depressing and our prayers are not being answered and, we're not happy and we're not. But God is using that time to grow us. God is using that time to grow us and for us to build perseverance. Like in hard times, we're like, oh, God, can you wave a magic wand? Make things go away, make them better. And he doesn't do it. And it's so frustrating because, we just want God to move. And we just want the answer to our prayer, but he's not giving it. And, in that time, he is growing us, He is growing us. And we're having some perseverance there. We're learning to persevere. And it says we can rejoice when we run into problems and trials, for we know that they help us develop endurance. And endurance develops strength of character, and character strengthens our confident hope of salvation. And, that is so true. That is so true, the bad times. We've got to persevere. We've got to push through. We've got to keep pushing and pushing until we get there. And it's really frustrating. But you know what? God's got a plan. God's got a plan, you know. We might go through a time, like for instance, I went through a time, I had this job and everyone was so mean. Like I have never worked in such a nasty workplace in all my life. And everyone was so mean. Honestly, I felt like I was going to break down. That's what it felt like. And I'd go to work and I'd be like, if there's one more thing, just one more thing is going to break me. But of course, it never did break me. And I learned to push through and I learned to build resilience. And I learned to be tough in that time that people were being mean to me. And even though I sort of argued back a bit at first, I eventually learned to keep my mouth shut. You know, time to speak and a time to be quiet. And I had to learn to be quiet because I'll tell you what, I was just not happy. I'll tell you some of the things that went through my mind, some of the things I wanted to do to these people because they were just so plain mean. I mean, I worked with one woman and she would go out of her way to upset not just me, but anyone that worked there. I remember one day she said to me, and we were working in a hospital, and she gave me these alcohol wipe things, which are they're those things they rub your skin with before they give you an injection, you know. And she said to me, look, take these home. She said, and wipe your earrings with them because it'll make your earrings clean and it'll be good in your ears and all of that. So, okay. So I went home and wiped one of my, and only one, thank goodness, I wiped one of my sets of earrings with them. And next thing you know, they went rusty. I'm like, what happened? And I thought, you know, she's done that on purpose to annoy me. But anyway, I sort of pushed through that time. I really, really pushed through that time. And I got there and I built resilience. So then my pastor said to me, start a prayer meeting. So I started a prayer meeting. I just contacted everyone. We're having a prayer meeting. So everyone came to the prayer meeting and that was great. We started the prayer meeting and one of the guys said, why are you doing this? And I said, well, because pastor asked me to do it. I'm just doing a prayer meeting because that's what he asked me to do. But why have you called us here for this? And he got so angry and he was like, you know, how dare I call him into a meeting to pray for people? And he went right off. And I just stood there quite calmly and said, that's okay. That's fine. If you don't want to come, just don't come next time. I said, it's all good. I said, I'm just doing what I was asked to do. And if you want to be a part of it, sure, stay and be a part of it. If you don't, you're welcome to go. It's all good. And this was in front of a room full of people. And I'm like, oh, what is he doing? But, you know, if I hadn't gone through those things in that workplace, what would I have done? I wouldn't have known what to do. I would have melted like a wilting flower and sort of started crying or something, but I didn't because God had prepared me for that situation in that workplace. And I'm like, God, why did I have to go through all of that just for one encounter with a person? I don't know, but he did. And that's the way it is. And I've also learned since then to be really resilient. You know, I've learned to be really resilient when people are being difficult now. So now when someone's difficult, and this really, really works well for me in ministry now, if someone's being difficult, I can just be resilient and I can just be like, that's okay. That's fine. I understand how you feel. I'm sorry you feel that way. But I don't get upset. It doesn't bring me down because God prepared me for that. Anyway, everything that we go through is preparing us for what God has for us. And that's really great. Anyway, this is where I'll end this one, but I will go on to part 2 in a minute, and I'll do it in a minute, even though you'll see them a week apart. I will do it in a minute and just get the whole message out there. But look, you know, if you have any questions, any prayer requests, anything you want to know, just comment below. You know, if you're in the Sydney area, we're going to start meeting in Ryde, New South Wales quite soon in person on Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. So if you live in the Sydney metropolitan area and you can get to Ryde, send me a message. I'll tell you where it is and you can come and join us for fellowship and Bible study and stuff like that. Anyway, any prayer requests, put them in there. Any questions, put them in there. And I'm going to end this video now and record the next one. Love you all.